And we're live.
Awesome. Well, I'll start over. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Just a great night to be out. This is exciting to be able to get back out and see people again in this hybrid version of the first Live with the Mayor since, well, the second one since COVID started, but the last one did not have anybody here in person. So tonight we have some people here in person. We're also live streaming for the first time on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube as well, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of people watching there as well. It's great to sort of be getting back to normal a little bit, although we still have to be very careful. We are able to sort of get out and do a little bit more and get a little bit back more to normal, and it is a great feeling to be able to get out and do that. I want to introduce some of my council colleagues who are here joining us tonight. For Ward 1, we have Ward 1 local councillor Rob Tyler Morin is here. And Ward 1 Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford. Ward 2 Local Councillor Ashmead Khan. And Ward 3 Local Councillor Lisa Bauer. I didn't see you come in. And Ward 3 Regional Councillor Joanne Dyes. Ward 2 Regional Councillor Sterling Lee sends his regrets. Him and I were in a planning meeting from 9:30 this morning. I gave up at 4 o'clock. And canceled out because I'm not actually on that committee. I was observing and speaking, but he stayed right to the end. So he's had a long day and sends his regrets. But without further ado, I want to introduce Ricardo from Melpac, our host for this evening. Ricardo, thank you very much for hosting us here tonight. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate your contributions to the town. Turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Collier. I'll take off my mask for this. I wrote a speech, but I'll try to keep it short. I kind of feel like today's the day where we have Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. We finally get to open our doors and allow everyone to see what we're about. I get all the time, we hear how the building's an unassuming building from the front, and they don't realize once they cut through the doors as to what we really do. So who's Melpac? We're a value-added stretch film manufacturer. That's all that we do. Proud to call Ajax our home. What we aim to do is provide a very green alternative to commodity films on the market. So our films you're able to use up to 40% less of our films than our competitors. We've been in the business, we're going on our 49th year of operation. We're a privately held, Canadian-owned manufacturer. We're the 5th largest of what we do in North America and the largest of what we do in Canada. So it's a great success story for the town of Ajax. And again, we're proud to call Ajax our home. So as you're all aware, COVID's been a very challenging experience for us, and just some of the success stories that have come out of COVID, we only make stretch film, but when there was a shortage of things like masks, of gloves, we sort of repurposed one of our lines to see what can we do. We ended up making, first prototypes of our kind and utilizing our film to make gloves. We support a lot of our national sort of accounts, like a lot of the large grocers out there, names that you'd be very familiar with. When their business went through the roof with everyone staying at home and buying more groceries, we were there. We had to ramp up our business and be there to support us. It's been a phenomenal year for us. We're proud to have been able to supply local, employ local. We employ up to about 300 employees within these 4 walls. We're up to 300,000 square feet and looking for more space. So again, Mayor Collier, Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to host the event, and thank you for your team. You have a great team here, just working to pull all the pieces together, and it sounds like it's going to be an exciting night. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to some of my staff that are here tonight as well. We have Rachel Wraith, our Manager of Corporate Communications, Devin Jarvis, who is our social media person that handles all the social media, and of course my assistant Jennifer Larmond at the back as well. They put this together tonight. Thank you very much, ladies. You did an amazing job. Really appreciate it. And I know another thing you've been working on is a new Welcome Back Ajax video. And I know my council have not seen this yet. I only saw it about an hour ago as a preview. It's really amazing. We want to do something special as we get back into the swing of things. So I'll just turn it over and we'll show you the video. Please go ahead.
Ajax is our home. A place to raise our families, build our businesses, and experience our joy. The pandemic has shown us what's truly important. Spending time with those we love, showing kindness, supporting our community, and celebrating life's precious moments. The road to recovery hasn't been easy, but we're on our way. Ajax is open. From our shopping centers and restaurants to community hubs and attractions, and they're all excited to welcome you back safely. Let's celebrate our home. Enjoy local cuisine. Discover art and culture. Learn about our history. Try a new activity. Get outside and explore. Reconnect with why you love our home. Welcome back, Ajax.
You may recognize some of those actors. Most of them are sitting right here. We've been working very hard to try and support businesses throughout the pandemic. It's been very difficult. What they mostly needed was money, which is not something we can do with tax dollars, but we tried to help them in every other way, through promotion, through access to PPE, to just getting them to the resources that were available from the upper levels of government and everything else. And, you know, sadly, some didn't make it, but a lot of them did. And I'm thankful for that, because business sort of is our lifeblood here in Ajax. And, you know, we've got over 2,000 businesses, and we're just do everything we can to support. I forgot one person, and I remember Samuel is here, our new manager of economic development as well. He's been with us for a couple months, 2 months, September. We brought him here from Saskatchewan, but he was Ajax native before, and he came back. So he's doing a great job, and as you've heard me talk about many times, economic development is something that this council feels very, very strongly about. We've been very, very successful. And actually, the next thing I'm going to do is, before we get to questions, we held our strategic plan update on December the 1st. At the start of every term of council, we sit down and we develop sort of a game plan. This is where we are. This is the high priorities of our council. This is where we want to be. And these are the steps we have to take to get there. And we highlighted, I believe it was 127 different areas that we wanted to do. So I'm just going to go over the, this is the next thing, isn't it, Rachel? Yes. I'm just going to go over the where we are as far as our strategic plan, because just having a plan is one thing, but we have to go through it every year and see if we're on track, and are these still priorities, and do we need to make any modifications to make sure that we're reaching our goals. So here's where we are so far. We had three main posts of our strat plan. That is connecting our community, leading our community, and investing in our community. And in each one, this is our connecting with our community. And you can see out of that task, we had 47 items. 45 have either been started or are complete, which is 96%, which for 3 years in is pretty good. We only have, oops, go back. We only have 4% that we haven't actually started yet, which is very, very, very significant. Only 2, which is great. Some of the things that we've done as far as connecting with our community. Next slide. The IMO page, some of you may have participated. When we need to get some information, we'll put it out on the IMO page. People can come back, give us their feedback. It's sort of our survey, our way of finding out the things that are important. Very, very important during COVID to figure out what was happening with people. Pivoting to virtual and drive-through events. I don't know if anybody went to the Christmas, the Santa Claus parade last Saturday, where we had the floats were stationary and the cars drove by. Did a lot of things like that. The Rib Fest that the Rotary did was great. People would drive through, and we've been doing a lot of those type of events. The Age-Friendly Ajax we initiated. Our diversity and inclusion, we've really done a lot of work in diversity and inclusion, especially since the death of George Floyd, the whole Black Lives Matters movement. We developed our anti-black racism task force last year. That's going very well. All council have taken diversity and inclusion training. Learned about unconscious bias, all those other things, and we really are leaders in Durham and in Ontario in the things that we're doing in our town. And of course, our active Town of Ajax, where we try and get people out and involved in the community. The next one is the, not invest. What's the one before invest, Rachel? Leading, there we go. We were at 100% of those 42 actions in our leading our community, which is great. Not quite all complete. 40% are completely done, but 60% are in process. We should get those done by the end of the year. Some of the things that we've done as far as leading our community. The intergovernment action, those of you that have been watching to our west when they had the Pickering development or attempted development of the wetlands in the MZO, we saw town of Ajax step up in a really big way, as well as with environmental defense and a lot of other different groups, and the entire province rallied in that. Similar things are going on right now with the Save the Carruthers Creek and preserving the wetlands in Northeast Pickering as well. We already have some evidence of flooding in South Ajax. We have about 500 homes in the floodplain as per the TRCA right now. And if that development happens, it could cause much more flooding in South Ajax. So something that's very important to us. Wetlands, cannabis was one of the first decisions we made as a new council. We hired a grant writer, a dedicated grant writer 2 years ago, Cassandra. And she's been doing a great job. She's applied for 34 grants, and she's already received $3.74 million in grant funding. That's money we didn't have, that's non-tax dollars. That's things we don't have to collect through property taxes on residential and business. And the whole point was that she would pay for herself, and she's paid for herself many, many, many times over. I have also loaned her out to places like the Legion, to Para, and to some other different nonprofit communities that needed some help with locating government grants. And they've been very successful as well. And finally, sustainability. We had already met our climate greenhouse gas reduction targets by 2015. So we set new targets. We've done our climate risk and resiliency plan, our green development and environmental design guidelines. We've kicked off our textile diversion program, which is going very well. And we are working really hard with the TRCA and the region to redevelop certain areas, like we're doing 2 wetlands right now in South Ajax, restoring these wetlands in conjunction with our partners. That's some of the things we're doing in the community. And finally, investing in our community. And you can see out of 37 items, 36 are in action right now, 97%. Only 1 has not been started. Some of the examples of investing in our community, we have a very, very active planning department. And Samuel has learned this since he's been here in a short time. We have gone from not being open to business to being open for business in a very, very big way this term of council. So far, our planning department has received 8,984 submitted applications. That's in 3 years. That's pretty significant. Of that, 4,533 permits have been issued, 12.3 million in application fees, and 38 million in development charges. That's his Ajax portion. And the big number on the bottom, the $853 million in investment in our town in residential and commercial in the last 3 years, is unrivaled in the region of Durham. And I expect that we will hit $1 billion worth of investment in Ajax by the end of this 4-year term. And that's exactly what this council set out to do. We ran on creating jobs. At the start of this term, over 70% of our population had to travel outside of Ajax into the city to work. And they're still having to do that now because the shovels are still in the ground. But once all these permits are done and once all these buildings are built, we'll hopefully be able to reverse that. The other thing about this is, when you're talking about your residential and your commercial property taxes, we've had a declining commercial sector in not just Ajax and Durham for the last decade at least. And you usually want to have about an 80% residential, 20% component to your property taxes. We've gone to about an 87-13. But our costs at the town remain the same. In fact, they go up like everybody's do. So what happens is when the commercial is shrinking, the residential taxpayer has to carry more of the weight. So by having all this commercial application now, we're sort of bringing that back again and taking the pressure off the residential taxpayer. We've done an incredible amount in the first 3 years. Hopefully in the next term, you'll really see a difference with that. So with that I think wraps up our strategic plan update. Just overall, of the 126 actions complete, 123 are underway right now. Of the 126 goal, which is 98%. And I think that's awesome. Is that the end of that, Rachel? That is. So without further ado, I think this is time we turn it over to questions.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Mayor Collier. And I'd just like to give you an update. We have over 50 people joining us online right now who are watching us. So thank you so much. And if you are tuning in online and you have questions for the mayor, please comment below in the comment section. And our team is there monitoring, and we'll be asking questions that are coming in online as well. But since we have our first live studio audience here, let's go to a studio question. So if you just like to put up your hand if you have a question, I'll come over to you. All right, Azar. What's your question?
My question that the vision Mayor saw when he elected and how far he came and how he feels, because we feel so proud about the economical growth.
Thank you very much for your question, Azar. So Azar's question is about your vision since you've been elected and since you've been mayor, and how do you feel about that vision and what's come to fruition since you've been elected?
Well, first of all, I can't do anything myself. I'm just one person. We are a team. There's 7 of us. I only have 1 vote. So you need the support of your council to be able to do anything. But we had a very much shared vision this term, and that was evident in our strat plan. Just looking at just this last week, this is last month, we've had a very big month. We had the minister just approved the MZO on the Annandale lands, allowing that to go ahead, and that's going to be upwards to another 1 million square feet of commercial space, another 1,500 or so jobs. Just yesterday, we had the announcement, before that, we had the announcement of the 320 new long-term care beds at the hospital that are being built right now, the fast build that's going to be open in January or February next year. We have an aging population. We need those long-term care beds. We want people to be able to age here in their town. We don't want them to have to leave Ajax and go somewhere else because we can't accommodate them. And yesterday, the Schlegel Village development, another 192 long-term care beds was announced by Minister Phillips, which is another huge win. And then today, in that planning meeting that we were at, the marathon planning meeting we were at, we as a council had approved, we had the most in the region conversion applications throughout this current municipal comprehensive review process, the Envision Durham process. And what that is where we look at the region as a whole. It happens every 5 to 10 years. You look at the region as a whole, you decide, okay, here's our official plan. Are there areas we need to make sense? How many jobs do we need over the next, and they're planning to 2051. And how many jobs, how many residents, how much growth do we have, how much land needs to be designated, do we need to expand the urban settlement area, do any of these things need to be converted to residential, to commercial, or vice versa, and those types of things. So what we finalized today, Ajax Council approved 5 of those 15. And those were areas where, well, I'll tell you a little bit about Ajax first. We have a fixed urban boundary, which means we can only go up. We cannot go out. We have Greenbelt to the north, Greenbelt to the east, the lake to the south, and Pickering to the west. We can't go anywhere but up. So we need to make the highest, best use of every acre of land we have in our town. We have a lot of situations where we have some smaller pieces of land. We've been getting a lot of single-story commercial plazas and things like that, which are great, but they don't hire a lot of people. And we're not going to meet our employment targets unless we increase that density. So the 5 that we supported are on areas on the outskirts of our business parks where we're trying to create these pedestrian-friendly live-work type environments. By pedestrian-friendly live-work, I mean mixed use. Mixed use is like what you see at Pat Bailey Square, where you've got the main floor retail, second, third floor office, and then 25 floors of residential above. That way we're getting retail, office working, and people living all in one. That's a much higher density and a much better use of that land than just having a single floor commercial plaza, right? So we had a big one today where all 5 that we had supported, there was 3 that were supported by the regional staff, and the other 2 were approved today by the Works Committee, which is a home run for us. That is setting the stage for Ajax going forward. We have people working, and we're getting a lot of warehouse space now. We have people working there. They're good jobs, but they're probably not going to be buying the $1.2 million Castlefield homes across the road right away, but they can afford, a $500,000 condo, for instance. We don't have any of that high density housing for them. So we need those residential units on major interchanges where there's good transit, close to work, close to the GO station, easy access to everything, pedestrian friendly, live, work. And that was done today. So how do I feel about all these things? Really, really good, because it just seems we're getting one after another of wins for the town, which is amazing, and couldn't do it without council. It's just, and I think well, I don't think, I know we're being recognized by other municipalities as well outside of Ajax for these things. They're recognizing that we've gone from being not sort of the center to, we have a lot more development now than designated growth centers like Oshawa and like Pickering. They are designated provincial growth centers, but Ajax has way more development. That's good. So I feel very good about it. That's the long answer.
Thank you so much for that question. So I would just like to remind everyone who's watching online right now that you can ask questions. We're live for the first time on Twitter today, so if you're on Twitter, please add us your questions and we'll do our best to answer them. So we've got a lot of activity on Facebook right now, and I've got a question coming in from Nick. Nick would like to know, will downtown developments be on hold until Hunt Street is expanded?
Unfortunately, yes. For the most part, and he's hit the nail on the head with that. We are constrained in our downtown development because we do not have sewer capacity. This is something that I ran on in the election, and we've been working very hard to get this moving forward. What we have been able to get done is the region of Durham has got the $3-point-something million allocated from their budgets for the sewer itself. The problem is we have to come up with the $20 million to build the road, which is kind of holding us up right now. So we have tasked staff to look at a number of different options on how we can do that. We can buy the land and incur debt and debenture it. That's one thing we're looking at. We can work with a partner, because some of the lands, a lot of the lands are for sale right now, so we can find a developer with deep pockets and work with them. Or we can wait and do nothing. I think wait and do nothing is not an option. We just, in our capital budget last week, saw an item for updating of the environmental assessment for Hunt Street. So we're going ahead with that. We're going ahead with the design. We're getting everything in place, and we're just trying to figure out now how we're going to pay for it. And I am going to get it done. I'm hoping to have that problem solved. I think saying 5 years is a reasonable amount of time. And once we get that done, that unlocks the downtown core. And once that's done, I think you're going to see a lot of development. But until then, we still have the Central Park Lamine development in the center. And that Ajax Plaza area does have sewer capacity. And we are still, unfortunately, hung up in the courts on that. We're very near the end. I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And as soon as that gets sorted, that area will definitely go very, very quickly. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to go to another in-studio question. So I've just come over to the other side of the room. Is there anyone on this side of the room who has a question for the mayor? Yeah, I'm right here. Thank you very much for the question. So the question is about the BRT along Kingston Road, and what's the timing for that project?
Oh, Councillor Crawford might be better to answer that one. I am the chair of DRT. I am pretty involved in it, but the timelines, I think we had discussed this last week, and I think for the section from Salem over to Lake Ridge was to start 2023, I believe, and I believe that's going to be completed around 2025. Heading further west towards Pickering Village is further out. I think that's 7 years out. Is that accurate, Marilyn? Right. Okay. Yeah, Marilyn's been following those details a lot closer than I have, so thank you for clarifying that. But yeah, that'll be very important, I think, because moving those BRT lanes, the bus lanes to the center, because I mean, people still, no disrespect intended, but still don't know how to use those bus lanes. So moving them to the center, like some other municipalities like Markham have done, has proven to be the best, most efficient way. The only problem we've really had with it is in Pickering Village, where of course the building's being built up close, it constrains, and we're going to have to go to removing one lane. That's the only way to do it. I think that's what they've decided to do. But as Marilyn said, it's not funded yet. It still has to go through the President of the Treasury Board and get approved. And once that's done, that will be, I'm estimating 7 years out, I think.
Thank
Hope
you.
that answers.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to go to another online question from Cecil. So we had an exciting long-term care announcement yesterday. If you could talk about that, as well as the long-term care facility at the hospital and these facilities coming to Ajax.
For sure. I did talk about it a little bit already. The Schlegel Village proposal, so back at the start of council, one of the things I was really trying to do is incent some people to come here and invest in long-term care. And I've learned a lot about it since then. And one of the, from what, in my opinion, premier providers was Schlegel Village. I toured their facility in Whitby. Amazing facility. What I really liked about it was they have their standard footprint, which is 192 long-term care beds, and then an associated retirement home, and a connection in the center, which really is like a street, like a Unionville street or something, where the residents can walk down. It's not even like you're inside. It's sort of a lifestyle, and they've got, you know, the barber shop, and you go get your nails done, and you can go do all these things. It's something that gets people encouraged to go out, be active, and be involved. So I started talking to James Schlegel, and he was looking at some sites, and there was one site that was available that wasn't real ideal, but he really liked the site on Harwood, which is owned by Tribute Communities. It's just to the west of Notre Dame Catholic School and J. Clark Secondary School site, and the new Granville Children's Center site on the other side. And it's a 15-acre parcel. So I approached Lucy Stocco there and just said, look, would you consider selling, and it was 5.8 acres of that 15-acre site, to them to get this done? And she went back to Al Libfeld, and they had this discussion. They said, okay. They were going to apply through this municipal comprehensive review for conversion. One of the things that I've been very, very, very stuck on is we need to maintain our 50 jobs per hectare on employment lands. I would not even consider any conversion application that doesn't maintain the employment or exceed. So that 5.8-acre site, that Schlegel Village, will produce almost 300 jobs, which checks the box on the 50 jobs per net hectare on that 15-acre site. At the same time, Grandview Children's Center needed 1.5 acres for their parking and the rest of the building to make that happen. The town of Ajax donated the land for that about 7-8 years ago. They're almost ready to go ahead. They're in design. Hopefully they'll break ground next year, but they needed that extra piece of land. So sell the 5.8 acres to Schlegel, give the 1.5 acres to Grandview. That's 2 major projects that we're getting done, and I said, okay, we'll agree to the conversion of the rest, which is what we did. That's all been approved now. So I think that speaks to our council support. We also received a minister's zoning order on those lands for the Schlegel Village one back in June of 2020. So that 192-bed announcement yesterday was we'd really been looking forward to that, and so I'm really glad that's come through. So I think it's very, very important to us, and a stat that I heard yesterday by the minister during the announcement was they've now approved with the Ballycliffe as well 640 or 636 or something long-term beds in Ajax just in the last 3 years, which is more than was produced in the 7 years before that, total across the province. So they're recognizing that Ajax is a growth center. They're recognizing that we have an aging community and a need, and we're getting that investment here in the town, which is great.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we're going to go to another in-studio question before we take a little bit of a trivia break. So one moment here. Thank you very much. This is a follow-up question around Hunt Street. So once that project goes through, what is the vision for that area?
Well, my vision, what I would like to see is for that area to, part of it on the east side of Westney is captured in what was just approved, the new transit corridor. So they're expanding the GO node basically. So right now it was within, I think, 500 meters of the GO station was allowed to be used for mixed use and that type of development, so people can live and walk right to the GO station, get on and go. but that's been expanded now out quite a bit. So also on the east side of Westney. So the first, I don't know what the distance is, up to the train tracks, I think, is allowed to be high density and mixed use. So I expect that to be built up quite a bit all around the area. We actually have some guests here in the audience today, I won't embarrass them, point them out, but who have an application for a 57-story tower by the GO station right now. So that's sort of what I see in that area. That's going to be very high density. Hopefully it's going to be a pedestrian-friendly live-work type environment where people can get by without their cars, because it also has a connectivity to the downtown core through what will be the Hunt Street extension, but also through, not Achilles. What's that street called? No, that runs from the GO station. Farrell, thank you, Farrell. So it has those connections. For the rest, and it all depends, if we can work with a partner, and I think that's the best way to do it, is have a developer buy the site. We work out a way where I guess we'd have to do a CIP in that area and figure out a way where we can get them development charge credits for the land, for the road they'd have to convey to the town. I expect that to be prestige employment all through that area. I'm not sure, I think it's heavy employment now, heavy manufacturing in there now. But yeah, we're going to work with whoever, if we can partner or if we have to do it ourselves. It will be built up, it will be commercial or mixed use, I expect. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yeah, and that's unfortunate. You're talking about the one right by the Legion. Yeah, that was unfortunate. And that's a result of us not having the sewer capacity. That should be a high density area right there, but we had to approve 322 townhouses in that area because we didn't have the sewer capacity for all those units for the high density. That's a shame. And if we keep having to allow, and there's nothing we can do about it, it's allowed mixed, medium, or high density. If it comes in with a medium density, which is townhouses, we can't really approve it. It'll get appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal and we'll lose, and it'll be built. But we only get one chance at this. So if you start getting townhouse developments in your downtown core, we're going to be in trouble. That's, again, the urgency. To the Aris lands, and you have a good memory because I don't think they've been there for a while, have they? I don't know what is going to go in there. I know that area is not used to its highest potential right now, I don't think. I know 27 acres, I think, are for sale right now, and they've been for sale for quite some time. I don't know what's going to happen in there right now. But I think the question was, what is my vision of there? And I think that should be all developed in high density and mixed use and commercial.
Thank you very much. So we're just going to do a little bit of a fun activity for our live audience here. We will be doing a little bit of a, can you guess where this is in Ajax? So if everyone just has a look at the screen ahead, in a moment, we're going to go to the next slide. And all that I'm asking for is that you put your hand up and the mayor will point to you and you can give your answer. And we have a special prize pack. It's right over here. So it's actually wrapped in this Shop Where You Live tote bag, which is a campaign right now of Durham Tourism, which we are supporting here locally through our Economic Development and Tourism group. So it's all about being able to shop where you live, support local over the holidays, and inside is an Ajaxopoly. So if you haven't played Ajaxopoly yet, it's a great activity for over the holidays. So we'll put the photo up on the screen. Where is this in Ajax? Arms up, hands up.
I know council already has Ajaxopoly, all of us, so I don't think we're going to participate in this.
Are we? Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of a hint here. It's a heritage district. Yes, sir, over there, if you want to stand up.
Who have we got?
You got it.
It
So
is
that's
Pickering Village.
Pickering Village.
A little bit of a giveaway on the corner where it says Gordon House, Pickering. I noticed that when we were first putting that together. But yeah, you're right. Pickering Village, it's one of the oldest buildings in Ajax, and it is a heritage site. Thank you. With what? Oh, yeah. It doesn't look quite like that today. It looks very similar. So that's our first. Is there another, Rachel?
Yeah, we have a few more planned throughout, but we're going to get to some more questions here as well. So thank you very much. And yes, that's definitely Pickering Village and a great spot to check out. So I just have a question here that's come in from Robert, and he just wants to know about snowplows. How can he track snowplows in Ajax, especially with the recent weather?
Oh, well, we have an app. You can go online to ajax.ca. It's probably ajax.ca/snow or something like that, but it's easy to find. There's a search bar on there. And we actually have we have GPS in all our vehicles, and you can actually go on there and see exactly where the snowplows are, the exact time it went on your street, all that information. So yeah, we actually we haven't approved it yet. We will probably approve it on Monday. Is a what's it called? It's a dash cam project which updates the GPS and everything in all of our vehicles. And we're hoping to save a lot of money on our insurance with that by having this sort of accountability with all the drivers of our town vehicles. We know exactly where they are, exactly what they're doing, and have the evidence if there is ever anything happening. But with the snowplows, there is an application on our website, and you can track them there in live time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So we're getting a lot of questions on Facebook and online through social media. So I'm just going to go to a quick question here from Danielle. Can you tell us about the work that the town is doing with the Ajax Anti-Black Racism Task Force?
Yeah, it's actually a great committee. We started this last, I think it was July when it was approved, and obviously I don't know anything about what the black community is going through, and after George Floyd, the death of George Floyd and everything else, who best to give us that advice in that direction but members of our black community. So we struck the Ajax Anti-Black Racism Congress, is what it was called originally, and turned it over to a local resident to put together somebody who is very involved in the community, to put together a nominating committee and the criteria for their terms of reference. And they took care of all of that. We left it completely up to them. They put together their terms of reference. They put out all their notices. They brought in people, interviewed, brought on their committee. And they've come out with some really good ideas so far and some really good direction to council. One of them was support of the what's the DRPS? The cameras. What are they called? The body-worn cameras. So that was one of the things I felt was very important. That's something that we've now initiated at the region. So the DRPS has their pilot project right now that we've funded through the region for the body-worn cameras. We've done a lot of things through them as far as our diversity training and direction on a lot of those types of issues. They report back to council on a regular basis. We haven't had it yet this year. I'm hoping that they'll report back fairly soon. And yeah, it's a productive group. It was supposed to be an anti-black racism focused in the beginning. And my vision, I hope, is they are going to sort of morph into anti-racism as a whole at some point and move forward. Ajax is 56% diverse as of the 2016 census. I think as of the 2021, it's gone up. So we're actually more diverse, and we really need to grow with that diversity and work with these groups. And that goes from everything from recreation to right across how we deal with all these different things and make sure that everybody is welcome and included. One of the other things we did a little bit outside of the Anti-Black Racism Task Force is we've done a lot with recognizing the Indigenous community with the finding of the children at the residential schools. And we've been working with the Mississaugas of Scugog Island. We've installed a 4th permanent flagpole where we fly the Mississaugas of Scugog Island flag permanently. Lisa Bauer brought forward a motion to update our land recognition. We are one of the first municipalities in the province to have a land recognition at the start of council. We've updated that. It's much more correct because there were some areas we were missing and it wasn't quite there, so it's much more correct. And we also now have it in before every meeting, not just council, but General Government Committee and CAP as well. We have coming up in the spring also a crosswalk, and we have the Indigenous Garden Project that my Mayor's Gala has funded at the Ajax Hospital, which is happening as well. So we're trying to do a lot to really work with our very diverse community. And I'm absolutely open to working with all the other communities too, not just the Indigenous and the Black communities, but all the other communities as well.
Thank you. So just going to take another online question here. If you do have a question here in studio, if you want to put your hand up, then perfect, I'll come to you next. So this question is from John. John asks, I've noticed some tents along Harwood Avenue. What is Ajax doing to support the homeless population in Ajax?
Oh, well, I just mentioned the Mayor's Gala. We, through the Mayor's Gala and the generosity of some of our sponsors like Malpac, like Letem, like a lot of the other ones in the room, we've been able to put over $450,000 into the community, most of it towards the homeless initiatives in our town in the last 3 years. My wife Rose is here, who chairs the committee and does a great job. I raise the money, she does everything else. So it's been great. With our council as well, we started the locker program. So one of the things about being homeless is you need an address. You can't get you can't get a check, you can't get mail, you can't do anything with an address without somewhere to, if you're carrying your life around with you, it's pretty hard to get a job. So by having the locker program, it's allowed people to have sort of that home base. We worked at Joanne's House, which is the youth homeless shelter in Ajax, through Durham Youth Services, and because homeless youth become homeless adults. So we funded a program to help get homeless youth back into the family home. To do that, and we also have funded a lot of rehoming kits through there, and they're $500 a piece. I think we bought, was it 50 of them or 20 of them, something like that. Which if you're a homeless youth and they find you housing, you don't have sheets, you don't have plates, you don't have towels, you don't have anything. So this homeless kit, this $500 kit, gives somebody a fresh start. So we've done a lot of that. We have done a lot of work with the Salvation Army with the community outreach vehicle, which can go out into the community and bring those services to our homeless people. We are funding the kitchen at the new Salvation Army with our proceeds next year, which is a teaching kitchen as well. So again, not just giving handouts to people, but showing them, helping them learn these skills in order to be self-sufficient. We work with the region. As well as I think Doors of Compassion is also working with the region to provide a warming center, and they're renovating their basement right now, which is going to take over from our hygiene hub that we've been running out of the Ajax Community Center and the McLean Community Center. It will now be run out of the Doors of Compassion in the basement, and again, that puts the homeless community back in touch with the services of the region and the province. They've been very successful in finding permanent housing for a lot of the homeless people that we have. So the unfortunate person that had the tent on Harwood, we had to have them removed. I mean, we can't have people just camping on we worked with them for many weeks to try and exhaust all avenues. We finally had to go in and get them to move. And I think they have a worker at CDCD that they see almost on a daily basis. They have hopefully they get the help they need. But we're doing everything they can. It's a bigger problem than I think anybody realizes. You know, if you see 10, there might be 30. Right? So it's a bit of a hidden thing. But we're also looking at one of the biggest, I'm part of the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus, which is mayors that represent municipalities over 100,000 population. So there's 29 of us in the province of Ontario, and together we represent about 70% of the province, of the population. And the biggest issue that we've identified for this coming provincial election is shelter, affordable housing. And I'm part of a roundtable next week with one of the ministers and a lot of the other mayors to discuss the housing initiatives and what we're going to do. And part of this Envision Durham process that we're finishing up at the region right now, the homelessness, or sorry, the home, I don't remember what the study's called, but it looks at how many homes we're going to need, is calling for an increase of 50% over the next, I think it's 10 years. So the region is putting a lot of money into that as well. And whenever I have developers, and I haven't talked to you guys yet, but I will, that are building high density, we're talking about seeing if there's an option of having some affordable housing component in those high density buildings. And the region does fund that as well, and the region gets funding from the province to fund that. But the problem is, land is so expensive, we just can't be building affordable housing. We have to work with another developer that is doing that. So that is some of the things we're doing, just off the top of my head.
Perfect. Okay, we're just going to go to another in-studio question here. Oh, thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. You wrote it out. So many companies have adopted teleworking for their staff, and it seems working remotely is now the norm. Are there plans to support the growth in teleworking by Ajax residents? For examples, reimagining how libraries can be used, or business development initiatives to support teleworking. It's a different perspective on work where you live. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I know I was skeptical about working from home. I'll try and, I'm not exactly sure what teleworking is. I got to think it's the same as working from home. Okay. In the beginning, I was skeptical, but I found that you can be even more proactive working from home, because for me specifically, I'll speak to mine, I don't have travel time in between. I some days go back to back to back to back to back meetings without even having time to, to run to the bathroom in between. So you can be much more productive, and when you're talking about things like the Big City Mayors Caucus, for instance, or the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the AMO conference, or the FCM conference, or some of the other things, Great Lakes, some of the other things that we go and attend, you don't actually have those travel costs. You don't have those hotel costs. You don't have those food costs, right? And so there's huge savings for the taxpayer as well by being able to do those. So going forward, we've decided as a municipality, we're going to continue having a hybrid model. Some people will continue to work from home. A lot of businesses have also realized they don't need to have all this high-cost real estate in downtown Toronto. When Rose was at CIBC, they actually had already, before COVID, gone to like assigned desks. So you didn't have a desk anymore. You were expected to work from home 2 days a week, and you had to sign up to get a desk. So rather than expanding, and there's businesses that haven't expanded, there's businesses that have closed their offices and work completely remotely now. So we are still going to continue that. We're going to encourage it. How we're going to help the public, I'm not sure, but I'm open to suggestions if you have any. Okay, we'll talk.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to do another trivia break here and guess where this place is in Ajax. So if you know the place, you've got to put your hand up really quick, okay? So let's put the picture up on the screen. Where in Ajax is this? Oh, sir, I see your hands up.
It is St. Francis Centre.
And do we have any programming coming up at St. Francis Centre, Mayor Collier?
We do have programming coming up at St. Francis Centre. It was part of my Friday update, actually. So yeah, they're having this Saturday. Is it this Saturday? Their very first show since the start of COVID, and it is twas the night before Christmas. Is their thing? And what's the name of the company that's putting it on?
Duffel Bag Theatre.
Duffel Bag Theatre. So tickets are on sale still at ajax.ca if you're interested in going. Should be a lot of fun. And Derek, enjoy your Ajaxopoly. Ajaxopoly is also a lot of fun. We played it up at the cottage with the kids, I don't know, a month or so ago. I won, but and everybody teams up against me, and it doesn't work. But anyway, it's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it.
Perfect.
Are we back to questions?
We're going to go back to questions,
Okay.
but there still will be one more opportunity to win our last Ajaxopoly. So I hope everyone is excited for that. So our next question is about a campus, a post-secondary campus in Ajax, and this question is coming from Mike. So are there any plans for a post-secondary campus, Durham College campus in Ajax?
Very interesting that you bring that up, and yes, actually. Originally at the start of this term, this was another thing that was pretty high up on a lot of our lists at the start of this term, and several of us ran on trying to attract a college university campus, because looking at other examples all over, where there is a university or college campus, you see a lot of economic development. It attracts a lot of resources from all over. We did have some success with Durham College and Ali at the AI Hub. And we did do a lot of work with the CISO conference and other things, and holding a lot of different events, but have not been successful yet in getting them to come and open a campus. But we are working with, his name is Murali, and I'm trying to remember the name of the company. I probably shouldn't say it anyway, so never mind. But what they do is they help train, because we have such a shortage of PSWs in healthcare, they help train basically new immigrants that come to Canada to work in the healthcare field. And it's an amazing thing, and they're growing like crazy, and they've chosen Ajax as their place where they want to come and settle. So we are working with them to find a location. Samuel is, what's their name? Computech. Thank you. Thank you. I can't say it because I thought about it and it's okay. And I think, I'm not sure of the area they've chosen, but they are very, very interested in coming to Canada. So I do hope to be able to make that official announcement in the not too distant future. And they probably will appreciate that plug anyway. So.
Thank
But
you.
great question, though. Yeah, that's something we really need to work and support. Just to follow up on that a little bit more, we have been doing a bit of work through, of course, Innovation Village was another thing, creating a tech hub and a startup initiative that's been sort of put on hold. We've been looking at our town buildings and trying to identify spaces. We've got a new business in the Mill Street Firehouse right now, and Computech is one of the others we're looking for some space for, but we are trying to encourage some of these companies to come here by repurposing some of our town buildings as well, and seeing if there's some areas we can do that. I don't know if it's the right thing for us to do to be landlords right now, but we're looking at it anyway and seeing if these options fit.
Great. So we've got a studio audience question right here. I know I'm quick. The question here is just in regards to the waterfront parking program. When will be an update on that, as well as our on-street parking program, and if there's been any updates to that as well?
I think January. We're getting we've directed staff to do a full comprehensive review of the parking program. Didn't want to make any changes sort of mid-program. We wanted to let it ride out. It has been very successful. There was a bit of misinformation online with regards to the costs. The cost to set it up was $68,000 total, and that involved hiring 3 part-time staff, as well as the cost to set up the ticketing system and everything else. We had somewhere in the neighborhood, I think it was 4,500 or so Ajax residents register their vehicles to be able to go down there for free. But the reason why we did the on-street parking program was a couple of reasons. Our waterfront is amazing. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. And we were attracting people from all over the region and Toronto, which no problem. However, our costs were going up like crazy as far as garbage collection, as far as security, as far as monitoring and everything else. And those costs were being borne by the taxpayer of Ajax, which I don't think is very fair for us to have to pass on those increased costs. So that's why we had the paid parking permit program for non-residents. Non-residents can come in, enjoy our waterfront, buy a parking pass, $20 all day long, and that's what helps pay for the resources that they're using, so we don't have to pass those expenses on to the Ajax taxpayer. My understanding is, and I haven't seen the final numbers yet, but our revenue was quite high, well over covering the cost of running the program. And we're going to have this full review. Obviously, not everything was perfect. So we're going to look at what worked, what didn't work, what changes we need to make, whether we're going to continue. But we'll make those decisions once we get all the data on all the information in January, I think it is. Pretty sure. As far as the regular parking, the other thing we pivoted to was proactive parking. Because right now, the only time bylaw staff ever went out and enforced was if somebody complained. So you could have a street with people parked all over it, and the snowplow wants to go down, and it's a mess. But nobody would go and take care of it unless somebody complained. Well, now we have proactive, so we have some other officers on the road. They're out, they're checking, making sure that people are not parking on the road because it is a hazard. At the same time, though, we recognize that people, young people are living at home longer. There's more homes with multiple families living in them. People rent their basements. People need more off-street parking. We don't allow on-street. We needed to allow for people to have more off-street parking. So what we did was we opened up our boulevard encroachment bylaw and our driveway widening bylaws. And we looked at those and says, what can we do to help people accommodate more off-street parking? So we allowed them to widen their driveways up to 1.2 meters wider, which allows them to take a single driveway and allow it to have 2 cars. We allow them to park on the apron at the bottom, which is actually town property, but as long as they park across and don't block the sidewalk or stick out in the road, they're fine. We allowed the boulevard encroachment. So again, you could widen your driveway up on your portion, which is above the sidewalk or above the water meter, but below is town property, and we didn't allow any encroachment on town property for insurance reasons and others. We've changed that to allow all those things now. So through all those three things, widening the driveways, encroachment on the boulevard, and the dedicated parking enforcement, yes? And thank you, see, awesome. And our occasional on-street parking permit system. So if you have visitors coming from out of town, it's not meant for people that have too many cars. Okay, it's not meant for people that have too many cars and just, no. Every household can get, I think it's 12 free. They changed it. 17, okay. Why don't you say it? Ah, thank you, okay. It used to be 12 when it first came out, and we just changed it, right? It was 12 in the first year, and I think we just updated it. And now, okay, so if you have somebody visiting, or you need to leave your car out or whatever, if you get your driveway paved, and you leave your car out, and you get a ticket, call one of these guys, and they'll deal with it for you. But if you are having visitors coming from out of town, whatever, they're staying overnight, they got to park on the street, you can go on the website, register their vehicle, get a parking permit, it's free, you get 5 free, they can park on the street, right? We recognize those things, except for during the winter months when there's snow. Okay, that's everything I know about parking.
Thank you very much. So I'm just going to do one final online question before we go to our last trivia break. And this question is coming in from Randall. He understands that there is currently an Ajax Council toy and food drive that's happening. And what are the items that are most in need?
Well, thank you, Randall, for bringing that up. That was my closing comments. So we have our Ajax food and toy drive that we started 3 years ago. Ajax Council Food and Toy Drive, been very, very successful. I know tomorrow we have a number of groups. Ash, you have a couple of groups coming. I have somebody coming to drop off large loads of food and toys. What we really need this year is for youth gifts. 12 and up, I think, qualifies as youth. We always get lots of toys for the little kids, but those teenagers are the ones that are often left out. So things like gift cards, that type of thing are very popular with them. We're just gonna buy a bunch of Amazon gift cards and give them, because then they can buy what they need. But those and all the food is going to Salvation Army, I believe, yes. And we were able to find this year through a generous donor, one of the Ajax businesses, some space for them to do their sorting. And I know, is Ron here? I know Ron supported them last year with space. Oh, there you are. Sorry, last year as well. We're very generous and gave them space, I think, for their toy support. Was that you? Yeah, thank you for that. So we found them space this year for a few months to do all the sorting of all their toys and all the great work. And that ends this Friday, December the 10th.
Yeah, it ends this Friday, and there are multiple locations across Ajax, all of our community centers, our town hall, our libraries, where you can drop off donations.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's our final opportunity to win an Ajaxopoly. I know you're all very excited about that. So we'll put the final photo on there. Right in the back there. Yep. You got it, Ajax Town Hall.
Oh, we need to make these harder.
And Mayor Colley, do you want to talk a little bit about the lights and how people can actually experience the lights in Ajax right now? Through Marion Bright?
I will. I appreciate these reminders. These are great. These are great. Yeah, so Town Hall is great, but last year, are we doing that this year? Last year we did that drive around where we did that sort of festival of lights. Is that happening this year?
Yeah, so there's a map right now at ajax.ca. You can access it at ajax.ca/town events, and you can see all these great light displays that are happening in different residential streets. I think there's one in South Ajax on Handley that's quite popular right now as well.
Yeah. And also Pickering Village. Pickering Village has a great light display. Rob is on the Pickering Village Business Improvement Association. They do a great job. They've got their big tree, the big hope sign, a number of other things. They've done a really nice job on their lights. We saw them the other day and we went to Casa Verde, which is a great place. If you're there, go have some dinner. But yeah, get out and enjoy our town, whether it's Town Hall, Pickering Village, whether it's our light tour around town. Get out and enjoy. You don't have to drive all the way to Old Scugog. We have lots of lights and stuff here, and they're very impressive.
So thank you very much for that. So we're actually going to start to wrap it up. If you haven't had a chance to ask Mayor Collier your questions here live as part of the studio audience, I think we'll be hanging around for a little bit, and you'll have a chance to connect. And if we haven't got to your question online, we will be back in touch and be able to answer your questions. So I'm just going to turn it over to Mayor Collier for final remarks here.
Thank you. And I forgot to recognize Thorani. I didn't see you when you first came in from Mark Holland's office. So thank you for joining us here as well. An hour goes really fast. We actually started a little bit late, but we're actually right on an hour. I hope this was informative for everybody. It's nice to get back out and see people again, getting a little bit back to normal. Thank you, Ricardo, for once again hosting us tonight. Thank you to my staff for putting this together and just doing such a great job. Great to see everybody. I want everybody to stay safe. However you celebrate, I want everybody to have a happy, joyous holiday season. And hopefully we'll be able to get together a little bit more in the spring and do these live with a few more people and get out and enjoy. And if we didn't have any, if you weren't able to ask your question, I'm sure if you want to send it in to us, we'll be happy to get you the answers that you need and do what we can to keep supporting. So that's all I have. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, everyone, thanks again so much for joining us. There's lots of refreshments. Please come have a bite, grab a drink.